It was pouring rain, sheets of it, crashing down like the heavens had sprung a leak. Emily Rose didn't know his name, didn't even think to ask what had happened to him. All she saw through the smeared blur of her windshield was a lone figure limping along the road, drenched to his core. Who was this guy? Why was he out here in this mess? She squinted. His dark green jacket screamed soldier, the kind you'd spot in those old recruitment ads. A wounded one, no doubt, from the way he dragged that leg. Her heart gave a little twist. Without a second thought, crazy, right? She yanked the truck over. Who stops for a stranger these days, especially in the pitch-black dark? But Emily? She couldn't just drive by. Welcome to Heartfelt Gratitude Stories, where compassion and heart take center stage. Let's dive into what really happened. Rain splattered her arm as she cranked down the window. Hey! You okay out there? She shouted, her voice battling the storm. He turned, hood slipping just enough to reveal a face carved with a jagged scar, temple to jaw, raw and real. Water streamed down his cheeks, but those eyes. Tired, sure, but steady as stone. Not looking for trouble, he rasped, like he hadn't spoken in days. Didn't say you were. Emily shot back, shoving the passenger door open. I'm heading past the base turnoff. Can I drop you at the gate? He paused, then nodded. Thanks. He climbed in, wincing. Oh God, was he hurt worse than he let on, and the cab filled with the smell of wet canvas and something heavier, like exhaustion itself. Emily stole a glance. His hands trembled, his clothes torn and stained. What had this guy been through? She didn't ask. Some stories, you just feel in the silence. You in the army? She ventured, easing the truck back onto the road. Was, he said. Just got discharged. Honorable? She asked, her voice soft. He cracked a faint smile, finally, a spark. Is there any other kind? The rain hammered the roof, the heater hummed, and they rolled along that forgotten road. Emily's mind raced. Why was he alone in this downpour? Where was he even going? That scar, Lord, what kind of hell left a mark like that? I'm Emily, she said, breaking the quiet. Logan. Logan Wells, he replied, slow and deliberate. More silence, but it wasn't awkward, it was like they both got it, you know. Still, she couldn't help it. You from around here? Nope. Passing through, heading to Wilton. Wilton? That's over 20 miles away, she exclaimed, gripping the wheel tighter. Yeah. On foot? He shrugged. Didn't have many options. 20 miles in this rain, limping, no help. Her chest ached. How could that even be? Didn't the VA do anything for you? He let out a dry, bitter laugh. They helped me right out the door. The base turnoff loomed ahead, dim and lonely. I can let you out here, she said, slowing down. But Logan just stared at the gate, then down at his hands. I don't have ID right now, he muttered. Lost my wallet when they discharged me. They said the temp papers are coming by mail. Emily blinked. Wait, what? You're telling me they kicked you out of a military hospital with no ride, no ID, nothing? He gave her a look, weary but sharp. I didn't say it was a good system. She sighed, pulling over. He reached for the door, but before he could bolt, she blurted, Do you have anywhere to go tonight? Logan froze, turning back with that guarded stare, like he'd forgotten what kindness sounded like. I'll find somewhere, he said. That's not what I asked, she pressed, her voice firm but warm. 10 minutes later, there he was, Logan Wells, dripping all over her tiny kitchen table. Her daughter, Mia, peeked out, clutching her bear. Oh, that sweet, curious face, but Emily shooed her back to bed. Was she reckless? Maybe. But Logan didn't feel like a threat. He felt like a man who'd been chewed up and spit out, and maybe she was his lifeline tonight. She handed him a towel and a steaming mug of tea. "You don't owe me anything," she said, meaning it. He nodded, but then, "Oh, what's this?" He dug into his soggy backpack and pulled out a cloth bundle. With shaky hands, he unwrapped it, a purple heart, worn but gleaming. Emily's breath hitched. "For Afghanistan," she whispered. "Third tour," he confirmed. "You kept it wrapped up like that?" "Didn't want to lose it." She didn't know what to say. How do you even respond to that? She just folded the cloth back over it and slid it to him. That night, Logan crashed on her couch, buried in blankets. She left a note, Wi-Fi code, coffee spot, and went to bed. Morning came, and poof, he was gone. No goodbye, just the towel folded neat and that medal by the sink. Emily stood there, heart pounding. Why'd he leave it? What did it mean? She didn't get it, but it felt big. Weeks rolled by, and life kept trucking, until it didn't. The foreclosure notice hit like a punch to the gut. Emily's world started crumbling. Her dad's house, her home, Mia's home, 30 days, and it'd be gone. She'd fought so hard, scraping by at the diner, selling bread at the market, cutting every corner. But this? This was too much. How was she supposed to tell Mia? "Hey, kiddo, we might lose everything, sleep tight." No way. She held it together at work, smiling, pouring coffee, wiping tables, but inside? She was screaming. One night, Nora, her friend, cornered her. You're drowning. What's going on?" Emily spilled it, the house, the debt, the terror. Nora didn't flinch. "Well, that sucks," she said, and Emily laughed, a real, shaky laugh. "Yeah, it does." Then, driving past the VFW hall, she saw it, Veteran Support Breakfast. Something tugged at her, Logan's medal, maybe. She showed up Saturday with honey oat loaves, warm and fresh. The vets nodded, some knew her from the diner. She poured coffee, smiled, stayed. And then, bam, a young vet stopped her. "You're Emily Rhodes, right?" "Yeah," she said, heart skipping. "Logan Wells told us about you. Said you reminded him of who he used to be." He handed her a photo, Logan, scarred but grinning, in uniform. "Thank you for seeing him. Not many do." That night, she pinned the photo by the sink, a quiet tether to that rainy night. And just when she thought it was over, her house, her hope, there was a knock. She opened the door, and oh my God, Logan. With 2 military officials, holding an envelope. "Logan. What are you doing here?" she gasped. "It's overdue," he said, handing it over. Inside? A certificate from the Department of Defense and a letter, her mortgage, paid in full. Tears poured down her face. "Why? Why me?" "Because," Logan said, voice soft, "you showed me kindness still exists. That's worth more than you know." And right then, Emily got it. Sometimes, one small act can turn the world around. That night, Emily pinned the photo above her kitchen sink, her hands trembling as she pressed it into place. It wasn't much, just a faded snapshot of Logan and his fellow soldiers, their faces weathered but alive with faint smiles. Yet, to her, it felt like a tether, a fragile thread tying her quiet, crumbling corner of the world to something vast, something worth clinging to with all her might. Every glance at it stirred a whirlwind of emotions, pride for what it represented, humility that she'd somehow become part of it. How could a single moment carry so much weight? 3 weeks crawled by, each day sinking deeper into dread. The foreclosure deadline loomed like a silent storm cloud, its shadow growing darker with every sunrise. Emily fought it with everything she had, phone calls to the credit union, her voice shaking as she begged for an extension, a delay, anything. But all she got was the same polite sympathy and cold, legal indifference. "Unless something changes dramatically, Ms. Rhodes, there's not much more we can do." Her heart sank every time. What was she supposed to do? Sleepless nights blurred into desperate days, her mind spinning with impossible solutions. Was this really how it would end, losing her father's home, Mia's home, her home? And then, oh, then, came the knock. It was 7 p.m., the air thick with the scent of tomato soup and grilled cheese, the cheap kind, but Mia's favorite. Emily had just set the table, wiping her hands on a towel, when the sound jolted her. Who could it be at this hour? Her pulse quickened as she crossed the room, opened the door, and froze. There they stood on her weathered front porch, two men in crisp military uniforms, not police, not local militia, but something far more imposing. Behind them, two black SUVs hummed quietly at the curb, their presence screaming importance. And between them, illuminated by the dim porch light, was Logan Wells. No rain this time, no limp, no tattered backpack, just him, resplendent in full dress uniform, holding a thin envelope like it was sacred. Emily's breath caught. She gripped the towel tighter, her eyes locked on the scarred face of the man she hadn't seen since that rainy night weeks ago. Was this a dream? Logan, she whispered, half expecting the word to dissolve the scene before her. He nodded, his voice steady and warm. Evening, Emily. The two men behind him stood silent, their authority palpable. One bore the stripes of a master sergeant, the other the captain's insignia, both radiating quiet respect, their postures rigid yet not unkind. Emily's heart thundered in her chest, her throat tightening. She glanced at the envelope, then back to Logan's calm, steady gaze. What is this?" she stammered, her voice barely holding together. Logan stepped forward, moving with a grace she hadn't seen before, no trace of the limp that had haunted him that night. Had he healed, or was he just carrying the pain better? "It's long overdue," he said softly, placing the envelope in her trembling hand. "But it's only the beginning." Confusion and hope collided inside her. "Beginning of what?" she asked, her voice breaking with the weight of it all. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he turned to the men behind him. "Gentlemen." The captain stepped forward, extending a hand with a gentle smile. "Ms. Rhodes, I'm Captain Stephen Marks, United States Army. We're here on behalf of the Office of Veteran Community Engagement and the 5th Special Recon Unit." Emily nodded, though her legs wobbled beneath her. What was happening? "We'd like to speak with you," the captain continued, his tone kind but firm. "If now is a good time." She stepped aside on pure instinct, her mind a blur. Mia appeared in the hallway, barefoot in her pajamas, clutching her bear with wide, curious eyes. "Sweetie, it's all right," Emily said quickly, though her own heart raced. "Just some visitors." The captain knelt slightly, his smile softening. "Hi there. I'm Stephen." Mia hugged her bear tighter. "Are you real soldiers?" she asked, her voice small but brimming with wonder. "We are," Logan said, dropping to her level with a tenderness that made Emily's chest ache. "But we're not here for a mission. We're here to say thank you to your mom." Mia's brow furrowed. "Why?" Logan glanced at Emily, his eyes warm and deep. "Because she changed someone's life when no one else would." They gathered around her small kitchen table, Emily, Logan, the captain, and the master sergeant, while Mia, after much coaxing and a promise of ice cream tomorrow, padded back to her room. The envelope sat unopened before Emily, its mystery pulsing in the air. Logan spoke first, his voice low but thick with feeling. "Emily, the night you picked me up, I was in a bad place, worse than I let on." She nodded, her throat tight. "I could tell," she whispered. "I'd just been discharged from a VA rehab facility in Harrisburg," he said. "Not because I was ready, but because they were full. Budget cuts." He shook his head, the bitterness still raw. "I had nowhere to go. My ID was lost in a fire back in Arizona. I didn't even have enough for a bus ticket. I was walking to Wilton because a buddy used to live there, I didn't even know if he still did. He paused, his voice dropping to a near whisper. I wasn't just cold that night, Emily. I was done. A chill sliced through her, sharp and cold despite the heater's hum. Done. What did he mean? You didn't know this, Logan continued, his gaze piercing hers, but I had a bottle in that bag, unopened. My last one. I was going to find a place to disappear. Her breath hitched. Logan, she choked out, tears prickling her eyes. He'd been that close. But then you stopped, he said, his words simple yet heavy with gratitude. You didn't ask what I'd done. You didn't flinch at the scars. You didn't treat me like a burden. You handed me a towel and let me feel human again, for the first time in months. Tears burned her eyes, spilling over as she blinked. Logan turned to the others. I wrote my team that night, told them something rare happened, something decent. They passed it up the chain. Word spread. The captain leaned forward, his voice calm but resonant. And now, Ms. Rhodes, we're here because that kindness didn't go unnoticed. He slid a letter across the table, its Department of Defense letterhead gleaming under the kitchen light. At the top, in bold, Certificate of Community Honor issued to Ms. Emily Rhodes. Below, a paragraph praised her exceptional compassion, bravery, and quiet service to a wounded veteran, naming her an honorary contributor to veteran resilience initiatives. Emily's breath caught. That's the Secretary of the Army, she murmured, tracing the signature with a trembling finger. Yes, ma'am, the captain said, his smile widening. But there was more. The Master Sergeant placed another document beside the first, smaller and more personal. This, he said, his voice gruff but warm, was the part Logan insisted on. Her hands shook as she read it, a letter from a private military foundation, veteran-led and anonymously funded. One sentence stopped her cold. This letter confirms full acquisition and forgiveness of mortgage debt associated with the property at 412, County Road, Millfield, Pennsylvania. Her home. Her father's home. Saved. Tears streamed down her face, hot and unstoppable. Why, she gasped, her voice breaking. Why would they do this for me? Logan's answer was soft, unwavering. Because what you did that night wasn't just about me. It was a reminder that quiet kindness still exists, and that matters to all of us. They stayed an hour, answering her dazed questions, watching her smile through the tears, promising to stay in touch. Before leaving, Logan handed her a velvet box. Inside, a heavy coin gleamed, engraved with his unit's emblem and the words, "She didn't ask, she just acted." It's a challenge coin, he explained. Usually for military valor, but sometimes for civilians who remind us what we fight for. Emily clutched it, speechless, as they left. That night, after Mia drifted off, she sat by the window, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the stars. How many nights had she lain awake, wondering if she'd lose everything? And now, someone had seen her. Someone had come back. Days later, Emily moved through life with a quiet reverence, like the world had shifted just for her. She'd glance at the framed certificate or the coin in its drawer and feel a warmth bloom inside. Her home was safe. She could breathe. But it was more. Purpose, raw and real, had taken root. Word spread fast in Millfield. Whispers turned to questions. Was that military brass at your place? You okay, Em? Heard something about a letter from D.C. Some were curious, some skeptical, but others looked at her with quiet respect, the kind earned in shadows. 3 weeks later, another envelope arrived from the Department of Veterans Affairs, an invitation to serve as a community advisor. Logan's note, just show up. That's all you ever needed to do. She hesitated. Was she enough? No degree, no military past. But Logan's words echoed, you didn't flinch. Maybe that was it. She said yes. The meetings were humble, mismatched chairs, awful coffee, but she listened, spoke of her dad, of Mia, of Logan. They listened too. One day, a veteran named Harvey sat with her, cigarette in hand. "I used to think civilians didn't get it," he said. "But you didn't need to. You just showed up." Back home, life grew richer. Mia turned 9. Veterans stopped by, leaving notes, nods, coffee requests, all with that look, "I didn't think anyone would notice." And she did. Then came the storm, a voicemail from county services about a lien from her dad's past, threatening her land. Her heart sank. Not again. But Logan's team stepped in, unraveling it like a miracle. When she thanked him, he smiled. "You paid it forward. I just kept it moving." And so, her home stood firm, her heart fuller than ever, because one small act, like stopping in the rain, can ripple out and change everything. Emily felt like the world had slammed a fist into her chest. But the mortgage was just the house, she cried, her voice shaking with disbelief. How could this be happening again? Greg, the county clerk, gazed at her with soft, sorry eyes. "The land is separate," he said, his words hitting her like a cold, hard slap. Separate? The land her father poured his soul into? She drove home in a daze, hands clenched white-knuckled on the wheel, the silence screaming louder than her fears. Back to square one. Her house was safe, sure, but the land, oh, the land. Without it, how could it ever feel like home? That night, after Mia drifted off to sleep, Emily sank onto the porch, the weathered boards groaning under her weight. She stared into the inky silhouette of the fields, her father's fields, tilled by hands twice as weary as hers, stretching out to the shed stuffed with rusty tools, mason jars of pickles, and a lifetime of memories. Lose it? Not again. The thought tore at her like a jagged blade. What could she do? Desperate, she fumbled for her phone, scrolled to Logan's name, and hesitated. Could she ask him again? He'd already done so much. But with a trembling breath, she typed, "Hi, Logan. I know you've already given me more than I deserve, but something's come up." She hit send, then whispered into the dark, "Please, let kindness keep going." The next morning, Logan's voice came through the line, steady as a rock. He didn't cry, just listened as her fears spilled out. Then, with that same quiet strength she'd clung to since day one, he said, "I'll take care of it." Take care of it? How? 3 days later, a sharp-dressed man in a charcoal gray suit marched into the county office, briefcase swinging, credentials gleaming. No grand speeches, no threats, just a crisp document with a judge's seal and a federal stamp, declaring the lien invalid. Fraud. A shady shell company had stirred up the mess, and now it was done, for real this time. Emily collapsed in her truck, sobbing for 10 solid minutes before she could even start the engine. Logan didn't gloat. When she called, voice thick with gratitude, he just said, "You already paid it forward, Emily. I just kept it rolling." "I don't know how to thank you," she choked out, tears blurring her smile. "You already did," he said softly. "You just don't see it yet." See what? Later that week, a mystery letter slipped into her mailbox, no sender, just handwriting she knew. Inside, "What you grow in quiet places will one day feed someone you'll never meet." Below it, one word, Semper, always. She folded it, tucked it beside the challenge coin in her drawer, and sat there, soaking in the silence, not hollow, but alive with everything sprouting in her life. By summer, lilacs burst to life along her yard, their perfume wafting through open windows as bees danced over the garden she'd nearly lost. Hers now, truly hers. Everything felt new, not in a loud way, but in a deep, soul-stirring way. One morning, barefoot in the cool soil, she cradled a woven basket, plucking tomatoes glistening with dew. Chickens clucked nearby, a gentle hum. Simple. Maybe to the world, but to her, oh, it was everything. Mia slept safe in a room she'd almost lost, the pantry brimmed with garden bounty no one could snatch, and the porch. Laughter filled it now, most nights. Life wasn't just back, it was blooming, all because of a stranger in the rain. Logan didn't drop by often, but when he did, he brought quiet veterans who spoke little and fixed plenty, fences mended, shed rewired, gate latch tightened like it was a mission. They left behind more than repairs, community, respect, a shield around her. One, Reggie, showed up after the lean mess, silently bolting solar panels to her roof. "I didn't ask for this," she said, stunned. He nodded. Logan said sunlight helps things grow. Really? At the farmer's market, folks lingered at her table now, some swapped stories, others dropped off pies. A woman hugged her tight, whispering, "You reminded my son he still matters," before vanishing. They knew her, not as a star, but as a quiet healer. One Sunday, arranging her produce, she spotted Logan, tall, steady, no limp now. "You're early," she teased, grinning. "Strawberries might sell out," he shot back with a shrug. They sat on her truck's tailgate under the old oak, sharing a basket, saying nothing for ages, silence louder than words. Then he spoke, "I've been offered a job, Washington, civilian veteran stuff." "Where you belong," she said, beaming. He chuckled, still learning, then added, "I don't want to go." "Then stay," she urged. "But I can't hide from what I'm meant for," he admitted. She nodded. "Go, but come back when you're ready." His smile said it all. That night, cleaning up, he handed her a silver seed-shaped pin. "Kindness Initiative," he said. "For those who pass it on." "I'm no hero," she protested. He waved at the land, the people. "You planted this." Seasons spun, Mia hit 5th grade, bold and bright, the house glowed warm, solar-powered and stubborn. Emily anchored others, leading veterans, hosting dinners, crafting a memorial garden. No speeches, just words folks hung on because she'd earned it. One snowy night, locking the bakery, a stranger approached. "You helped Logan Wells?" he asked, voice tight. "One of many," she said warily. "His cousin, I've got his letter," he said, handing it over before disappearing. Under her lamp, she read, "Emily, I thought war shaped us, but kindness does too, it softens the scars. You gave me more than a ride, you gave me life again, touching everyone I've met since. I'll never stop walking this road you opened. Thank you for seeing me when I was fading. Semper, Logan." Tears fell as she tucked it with his medals and notes in a box on the mantel, proof kindness grows unseen. Spring brought a sign, free produce for veterans, no questions. They came, some took carrots, some left tears. One soldier stood mute for 15 minutes, whispered, "Thank you," and left empty-handed. On her birthday, a package arrived, Logan's metal replica, framed, with a photo of him in D.C., her name shining behind him, Emily Rhodes. She hung it by the pantry, a nod to that rainy night she chose to help. A tiny seed in a storm, now a harvest for all, and Emily. She never stopped planting. Emily's story burns in me. It's not just a tale, it's a gut-punch reminder that kindness isn't some weak, fluffy thing. It's raw power, quiet but fierce, rippling out when you least expect it. I'm sick of a world obsessed with noise and self-promotion. Emily shows up, acts, and changes everything without a spotlight. That's the life I want, real, connected, unapologetic. Society's too busy chasing likes to see it, but these small, unseen moves. They're the backbone of community. We need more of that grit, that heart, more forests grown from single, damn stubborn seeds. Subscribe to Heartfelt Gratitude Stories, where justice is honored, kindness is remembered, and no act of quiet heroism is ever lost, because how could we let it fade?